Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier and this is the Piracy Show. Now on today's show we are going to be looking at the Buccaneer first. This is going to be a first impression of the ship. I'm going to kind of give you my overall opinion of the ship, but also I'm going to discuss my impressions of flying it, what I liked, what I didn't like, and yeah, then we'll go from there and I'll talk about overall where do I think this ship sits in the Star Citizen universe. What could its future possibly look like? Once again, this is my speculation, my opinion. Your opinion may differ from mine, but this is what I see. So, of course, very excited to get out there and fly the new Drake ship. And, you know, I was really excited to get my hands on the ship, and I was kind of like sitting there and getting antsy to do it, but I had other things to do this weekend. It was a pretty busy weekend, and I just wasn't able to get around to it until Monday morning basically. So of course I had everything all pre-downloaded and ready to go, and I was very excited to see it, to see this ship come to life. It's been a fairly quick process. I mean, it was last June when it was concept sold, but now it's already here. It's been one of the faster ships to get finished. It's pretty much, I think the Gladius was around the same time frame to get finished. And so here it is. Now, of course, I'm taking the wingtip guns off of this ship, and I'm going to basically harmonize all my size 2 so that I'm basically firing all the same gun, just for the sake of simplicity. Now, I seemingly didn't have the full selection of guns that I have in the live PU. I don't know, but I mean, there was plenty of Badgers, so I definitely decided, okay, I'll just go with a full Badger setup because I just didn't have all the options I wanted and all the stuff that I wanted to test out. And without access to rec in the rec store and taking things into, say, like Vandal Swarm or whatnot, I decided to just kind of opt for a full Badger setup and take that out and see how it works. So here I am, just flipping all the guns, basically unifying all the weaponry. Now, a lot of people will say, well, I like to have these guns for this situation, I like to have those guns for this situation. And to me, in my opinion, a little bit of this and a little bit of that is a whole lot of nothing. What you want is you want one solution that hits really hard, that's all aiming in the same place. That to me is, efficiency born of simplicity. So that's kind of what I aim for. Now, getting in and out of the ship is really quick. There's not a whole lot of head waggling this way and that way. You're right into the ship, boom, you're going. It's like the Herald. Once you get into the ship, it takes off real quick, bang, you're going. And yeah, once you get that landing gear up and you start moving, you're really moving. Now, when I first saw this and I first saw the speed, I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked. It was a very pleasant surprise to see the speed. It almost seemed to be something of an anachronism in reference to like the older patches of Star Citizen in the old era, where once we had the SCM speeds nerfed, like those ships just weren't there. This seems like it was built for that old version of Star Citizen and not the current one, because the speed seemed a little bit crazy. And I was sitting there going, I wonder if I'm gonna find a post on the forums in a couple of days that says, oh, whoa, whoops, guys, this is the old speed values, we got to change it. Sorry if we gave anyone the wrong impression, because it really is so much different than what we have right now. And the view in the cockpit, I found this view to be very reminiscent of a BF-109 or an ME-109. The old German World War II fighter. If you've ever played War Thunder or any flight sims where that ship, where that fighter is included, the general design of the windows seems to kind of conform to that. Now, of course, this is the PTU and not the PU, so my settings aren't here. So for the first little bit, I'm going to be using only 2 guns because I forget that I haven't unified both triggers on this client. But one of the things I loved about this ship is that it immediately slid into a side slip and it just stayed in it, and it was very stable. Didn't have to adjust speeds. I was easily able to kind of stay ahead of his guns, and it was fantastic. I like, the ship is supposed to have issues with taking more damage, but realistically, I just wasn't taking any. I had no problem kind of deking, dodging, and diving ahead of my enemies, so I really never felt like I was in that much danger. And now, yeah, okay, so I've kicked in with all 4 guns. Or is that 4 or is that 3? It almost looks like it's only 3 guns, but no, it is. So overall, like, as a combat ship, it seems to perform very well, even with those 2 wingtip guns removed, which, in the end, the practical usefulness of having 2 size 1s at the far end of the wings is dubious at best. But removing them, I was never at a point where, I felt like, oh crap, I should have left those 2 guns on, I really need them now. I was never in that position. So losing those 2 guns, not that big of a deal. Now, one of the things I want to talk about was all the features that have since been curtailed off of this ship. The loss of, there was talk of a salvage, not a salvage, a smuggling capability with this ship, little smuggling compartments, that's no longer a thing. Cargo bay, no longer a thing. Gun rack, no longer a thing, possibly in the future. And oh yeah, the way this cockpit opens, it's very much like a BF-109 as well. Very reminiscent of that. Yeah, so cargo bay, smuggling, gun rack, gone. Gun rack may yet return in the future. There's plenty of space for a gun rack. There's plenty of areas that you can put it. Reconfiguring the landing gear to use that big rear hatch kind of makes no sense when the original landing gear was fine enough as it is, but I guess, to make it look smooth and to make it look sleek, the price that was paid was cargo, gun rack, and possible smuggling areas for an aesthetic. So I very much disagree with that decision. I think that was one of the more questionable decisions. The handling is fantastic. As to the removing of the dual size 3 fixed guns, that I think is an issue that could easily have been resolved by simply making it difficult for the ship to dissipate heat from size 3 guns. If it was felt that was too much firepower, you could simply say, whereas a Saber is a lot better at dissipating heat, this is a little bit more low on the totem pole technology-wise and sophistication-wise, so it's not going to be able to dissipate heat as well. So you can still fit those guns, but it's going to struggle with the heat factor, so you might go through a lot of overheats. And now I'm just altering my triggers so that both guns are linked to the left mouse button. But yeah, I think that could have easily been resolved that way. There was no reason to strip this ship of those 2 size 3 guns. Things like that, balancing issues like that, like weapons damage output, that's stuff that can be visited into the future very easily, and adjustments can be made to balance these things out. So even if you feel that a ship is overgunned, you can use various in-game mechanisms that we already know are going to be in-game, like overheating, CPU usage, things like that, to kind of curtail things that would otherwise be seen as an abuse or overpowered. So just outright removing the guns was kind of, a lackluster move. It was just bad PR, Overall, though, having only flown this for a morning and a bit of an afternoon, what can I really say about it? I feel that the maneuverability and the speed of this ship is almost a little too good. To the point where I would be highly suspicious of its future. I feel a Nerf bat looming over this ship. I really do. It's because the size, even with just size 2 gimbaled guns, it's a very competent weapon setup. It definitely works, and you know, with the right weapons fitted, it I think it could definitely be a lot more deadly. Like if I could go all tarantulas, like if I had access to everything I could have access to on the normal, you know, live PU, I think that this would be obviously a very competent and a very deadly opponent. But at the same time, the problem is what does it really bring to the table that nothing else does? What does it really do? Now, it's got the maneuverability and the speed, but I don't think that that's going to stick around too long. I feel that that's going to get curtailed in the same way that the Gladius kind of got a little curtailed along the way. I don't know. I look at it the same way I look at things like the Cartual. I just feel that in the end, that Star Citizen is all about the Hornet, and that, you know, this ship is just a little too competitive, especially with the baseline Hornet. So I'm concerned that it's going to, you know, some of its better parts are going to meet in, you know, at least they're going to be brought down a little bit, and a lot of the things that could redeem it, a lot of its, you know, little niche capabilities that it was supposed to have are now gone. So, you know, is there really a reason to have it? Well, you know, ironically, this ship was brought in to kind of cover the gap with the Cutlass. In the meantime, the Cutlass has obviously physically grown, but grown as well in terms of, you know, if you're out there right now, if you're a Star Citizen, you know, if you want to become a backer, if you want to buy a ship, what is one of the best ships that you can buy? If you're willing to just say LTI is not my problem, I just want to buy a ship that's going to be useful day one, that I can use for many different roles, this is not that ship. If you want a fighter that's, you know, useful in many different roles and many different applications, this is probably not the ship, because even the interdiction weapon that we were hearing about at one point is nowhere to be seen or heard about. So there's, you know, this ship kind of exists in order to make up for a bunch of shortcomings that another ship had, and then in the end, this ship kind of, you know, just repeated the same mistake that the Cutlass made. And even though the Cutlass has now been corrected, now we have this problem with the Buccaneer, where a lot of its niche and a lot of its personality are gone. If you were once again a backer and you were just looking for one ship to get yourself started, would I say buy a Buccaneer? Oh God, no. This would be one of the last ships on my list to buy. The ship that I would be looking at, knowing what I know now, if I owned no ships, I would get the Cutlass. The Cutlass has gun racks. It has cargo. Presumably you can smuggle with it too, unless there's some kind of special magical mechanic to that. It can also carry a ground vehicle in the Drake Dragonfly. Transport that down to a surface of a planet. So you've got your guns, you've got your cargo, you've got your ground vehicle, all in a reasonably sized ship that still presumably is going to have a decent combat capability. Yeah, this thing is one hell of a dogfighter, but that's it, because everything else is gone. Everything that made this ship what it was supposed to be, everything that was going to make this ship unique amongst fighters, is gone. And now it's a ship that handles really well, that has decent guns, but apart from that, what does it really have that, you know, that day in, day out is really going to make you a lot of money in the Star Citizen universe, or is going to be serviceable and survivable? I don't know. It's, I think overall, if I was going to get a fighter, I'd want something that's a little bit more resilient, a little bit tougher, and a little bit more forgiving to fly, especially if I was starting out. And I'd be looking more at, say, like a Hornet, even just a baseline Hornet, because all I got to do is buy a ball turret for that thing in universe, and now I've got the 4 gimbaled guns, just like this has 4 gimbaled size 2s. But then I have the option where I can also move up and have a couple of gimbaled size 1s down underneath the nose. Or I can turn it into a stealth fighter, or I can turn it into, an AWACS. There's a lot of things I can do with it. Whereas with this, kind of a one-trick pony. And so, whereas the Cutlass has kind of found its place and really, I think, has moved into a positive direction, the Buccaneer is just kind of repeating the mistakes of the Cutlass all over again. So, is this a fighter that I intend to keep? I do have one remaining, though the chances of me keeping that depend on, what comes out in the future. I mean, just for basic usefulness, I don't know anymore. I might take that fighter into a different direction, but that's part of something else and something to be discussed in the future, but not right now. Overall, yeah. I mean, it's nice to see it. It's nice to have another ship in the Star Citizen universe become flyable. But yeah. Unfortunately, it's just, I look at it and I look at all the things that we were talking about when we were first discussing it, and it's all missing, and I'm just, not really that interested in it. So, yeah, it handles well. It's an exciting ship to fly, but overall, day in, day out, I don't know. I feel that, they missed the mark in taking away a lot of its niche components to, add, basically to add landing gear that folds out of the rear instead of the landing gear that was in the original concept art, which was perfectly fine and serviceable, but probably for an aesthetic reason, said, oh no, it's gotta go. It doesn't look good enough. I want it all to fold away inside the ship, and there goes your cargo, your smuggling, your gun rack. All that's taken up just for aesthetic landing gear changes. And yeah, so there you go. That is my first impression of the Buccaneer and my overall impression looking into the future for this ship. Hopefully things get better. I would love to be wrong. I entirely would love to be wrong on this count, but unfortunately it doesn't seem that way. Now, you know what? I'm going to save that for a different video. I was going to talk about these MFDs, but yeah, I think we're going to handle that at some time in the future. But you know what? Let's get back to the questions, the comments, the concerns from last week's ship updates and see what people have to say. All right, first comment, Neo Onyx. As to the spinal mount, CIG might or may just go with a specialized version of the fixed S3 mounts. Also, I wanted to say that revisiting of the gun rack is why it's important for people to give real and productive criticism right now. Good show. Thank you. Yeah, see, that's the thing, is because Star Citizens had a troubled time at times in development, there's a certain group of the community that no matter what happens will always default say, everything is okay, nothing is wrong, there is nothing to see here, all is well. And sometimes that, sometimes things get overblown, but a lot of times very important issues that need to be discussed get kind of drowned out by this kind of like, no, you're wrong. I wouldn't care if this game took 7 years to come out. I'm patient. You're just terrible. Really? No. So yeah, it's always important for people to give feedback. That's kind of one of the reasons why it's an open development game, is so that people can say, oh, I like this, oh, I don't like that, and it's important for everyone to voice their opinion. All right, Citizen Shenanigans. Good catch with the Cutlass at the end of ATV. Well, I think that's mostly because I got Cutlass on the brain, but yeah. I looked at it. Is that the Buccaneer? Because the little top parts, and I went, oh no, that's the Cutlass. Look at the rear door. I was very excited to see that. I can't wait. If that comes in 3.0, I can't wait to land one on the surface of a planet and just deploy a Buccaneer and just go for like 1,000-kilometer run through the desert. I think that would be awesome. All right, Citizen Gamer. The Buccaneer flies really well, Minion Soldier. I dropped a vid on my channel if you want to see. Great vid as always, sir. You rock. Yeah, so I did check out your video. If any of you want to see his channel, of course, on my main page, there's a link of Star Citizen YouTubers, and he is there. I did see your video. I enjoyed it, and it certainly it informed my opinion. I was, kind of really excited to fly it based on that video. I had some other stuff to do this weekend, and so I wasn't able to get to it as soon as I would like. Unfortunately, Blizzard announced that they were putting out a big patch for World of Warcraft on Tuesday, which is tomorrow, and I had a whole bunch of stuff I had to get done before that patch, so yeah, I didn't quite get to it as quickly as I would have liked, but yeah, it was nice to see that video and to see it in action. Thank you very much. All right, Tony Garcia. I feel like this is going to be the start of CIG deleting components that was originally in concept sales. Well, we are having difficulties implementing this feature, so we had to cut it. I think it's absurd and bold to tell people that purchased an original concept that they pitched, they are not going to get everything because it didn't fit, or it's too much firepower, or it's going to be an imbalance. What they are really thinking. They are not getting all that in 110 USD ship. They won't buy any other concept. Shit, we fucked up. We should have charged $299. This is my opinion. This, in my opinion, would have made the Hurricane irrelevant. It's supposed to have firepower with light cargo hold and a weapon rack for planetary activities, things that other fighters didn't have. As always, great info, Minion. Okay, and now there's a bit of a discussion between him and Maverick 2140, and they're saying, like, Maverick is saying, well, it's a question of fairness. If they kept the 2 fixed S3 weapons, they could outperform any other fighter in the game, all dedicated fighters, which, of course, this ship is also a dedicated fighter. It just, because everything else was taken away. And Tony Garcia saying fairness is not the issue. This is what was promised. This is what was delivered. And this has been an often problem. This has been a problem that has often come up. And it really kind of rears its ugly head every once in a while with different ships. The Curtailment was certainly a glaring example of promises not meeting delivery, and that ship, of course, is now just the silent, forgotten ship that you hardly ever see in the PU anymore, and for good reason. See, the thing of it is, and where I'm going to disagree with Maverick 2140 and where I'm going to agree with Tony Garcia here, is that an issue of being overgunned, once again, can be counterbalanced by various fittings issues that the ship could have with those weapons in mechanisms that already exist in game or that will exist. Too little CPU on the ship, too little heat dissipation, things of that nature that can be used to curb that advantage and make it more balanced, whereas a Saber could handle what a Buccaneer could not. And so I think that just flat out removing the guns was just a PR bonehead move, and it should have just been, well, later on as it develops, they're going to be like, well, there's heat dissipation issues, and work the problem that way rather than just saying, oh well, we don't think that it's going to work. We haven't really tested it in live yet with all the universe, but we feel that it's not going to work, so boom, yoink, take it away. It was not the best move. All right, Frank Werbach. Well, they screwed us with the car too. Well, there you go. And the Cutlass, and they're doing it again. How bloody hard can a gun rack be? It's not that hard. It's, in my opinion, it's landing gear. Someone wanted internalized landing gear, and that pretty much, nixed all of that stuff. Why not really think about the concepts before selling them to us? Yes. Was the same with the Hurricane. Yes. Let us make a cool ship with a turret as the main weapon. Oh, questions about turrets come in now. Strange. Let us revisit turrets now. Yeah. 100% agreed. They're like, oh yeah, let's sell a ship with turrets. And it's just like, yeah, but dude, turrets have sucked for a while. Oh, right, the turret thing that we've been ignoring. Oh, and it's not. Where now our ship isn't selling. We're gonna make a concerted effort to fix these turrets in 2017. Maybe, or 2018 for sure. 2018 for sure, but 2017 probably maybe. It's the same thing repeating. Why go back again on several things with the Buccaneer? Why did they take out the cargo space on the freelance? Or why did they not take out the cargo space on a freelancer to make the 350R slow moving sightseeing vessel, or eliminate the jump drive on the Carrack? Yeah, I'm kind of fumbling here as I'm trying to read this because I do this all live and react to it live. They are doing so well with the Caterpillar and the Herald. If you like symmetrical, I like that. So why again bring up such problems with the Cutlass? Like the Cutlass on the fighter that should fix the problems of the Cutlass. Exactly. Why are we repeating these mistakes again? It's like as a point that I want to break in here and make a point is there really needs to be somebody at CIG who has the ability to say no. Like somebody who just stands up and says, no, you're not doing that. And someone says, well, you know what? If we get rid of this cargo and all this smuggling area and all this stuff, then we can make the landing gear look more cool. And then someone says, no, you promised these things. You're going to deliver. Now, it may not be 350 cubic meters of cargo. It may not be 1,000 cubic meters of cargo. It may only be not even one. But you're going to have it. It's going to be there because you promised it. And if you don't, then you're just going to end up pissing off a whole portion of the community, and they're going to get mad about it. Then the other half of the community is going to get mad that they're mad, and they don't like the way that they're talking on the forums, and blah, 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 blah. And things just get acidic and shitty on the forums because, once again, it's like, oh, well, they won't mind. Throw that out the window. Hey, you know what? I got a great idea for a feature. Let's remove HUDs and put everything in MFDs. That sounds like... I digress. Don't get me wrong. I really like the idea behind the Buccaneer. But if they take away so much firepower, they should at least have the balls to add an ejection seat. Yeah. Yes. No gun rack, no S3s, no 360. Yeah, the 360-degree turret mount, although I don't really feel was that big of a loss because, once again, the idea that you would basically be kind of over the shoulder shooting at a ship chasing you whilst not looking where you're going, and that was considered a viable combat tactic to the point where it was promoted with the ship, is clown shoes. I mean, might as well have been wearing a big red nose and like a big multicolored, afro wig when you announced that little piece. No loot storage. Why not try doing the concept sale again and then actually know what they really want to sell us? Yeah, that's the thing is, I don't know. I feel like when I look at a lot of these concept sales, the Hurricane being the most recent example, is it's just like someone comes up with a fanciful idea and no one actually sits down and just does like the brain work and says, what is it really going to take to make this work with what we've got already? And not only how do we perceive it, it's like, oh, it's going to be cool, but what is the community going to think? Because I think the community kind of spoke on the Hurricane. And, you know, it's one thing to have like a big grand vision and to bring that thing to life, but sometimes things get lost in that process. And, you know, I really wish that there was somebody at CIG who was, you know, who was kind of in charge of ships that would kind of say, no. Stick to the fundamentals, deliver what you promise, and let's keep it reasonable. Of course, I mean, that person would probably end up getting fired within a week for not being a team player. All right, Barney Granero, very excited about the Buccaneer being flyable soon. However, those wingtip guns would be more useful as cheek-mounted weapons. There's actually, right underneath the chin where the lights are, there's 2 spaces where you could easily attach those 2 guns. You know, I struggle to see how 2 fixed size 1 guns, as you know, being that close together, would be overpowered. I just think that once again that was a decision made based on aesthetics and not really, you know, game balance. I think, you know, it's one of those decisions. There's plenty of space to fit them there. If it seems strange that they would move the turret for practical reasons, but leave the fixed size ones in the least useful position for a fixed weapon. Exactly. Yes, exactly. Oh my God. Okay, whoops, sorry. Yeah, it's all right. Flax and Saxon. Yeah, it sucks that they made an S3 gimbal mount instead of the twin fixed. Hopefully, when they change their mind in the future, I would think that the balance concern should have been addressed before the concept correctamundo. I mean, yeah, like once again, it's not something that they really terribly have to worry about because there's plenty of mechanisms in game that can mitigate something that would be overpowered without having to just yank stuff off of a concept ship. It's a very dubious reason to remove weapons, you know. I mean, you're building the game, so you already know that you have all these mechanisms. Why just create negative PR when you could just say, hey, size 3 guns generate a lot of heat. Buccaneer's not good with heat. Sorry. It's good for burst, but bad for sustain. All right, he goes on to say, I bought the Buck because they said it would mount 2 S3s on the turret. Then when they implement armor and stealth, everything else will overpower the Buck because it is missing its selling points, which was high firepower on a fast and agile glass cannon. Been watching your videos for a while, just subbed. Thank you for subbing. Yeah, I think that you know, some people feel that stealth has already been implemented in the game, and it really hasn't to any like marked degree because there's a lot of the overarching components to that are just not there. And of course, you know, none of these ships are anywhere near their final stats, so trying to look at stealth and things like that and say, oh, it's done, that's it, that's the Saber, it's finished. The Saber is nowhere near done, and you know, to see it fully implemented in the live game, it could have a massive advantage in terms of like surprise, in terms of usability in the universe. And so kind of taking all these things away from the Buccaneer, yeah, is kind of a negative move, I think, overall. All right, X-Hammy. No, the Cutlass is not flight ready. You could see that it was only gray box flyable, but not the done version. We saw them fly the Buck a month ago, and it's just ready now. Yeah. So it's definitely not in 262. It's one of the first things I looked for. Ravenous Pathogen. I'm looking forward to my Cutlass blue and black reworks. I am too. Oh my god, dude. I think the first video that I do post 3.0 is going to be like the background footage is going to be me landing a Cutlass on a planet, taking my Dragonfly and basically driving it for 1,000 kilometers down the planet, hopefully at a sunset twilight area of the planet, so we get a nice sunset in the distance. I would. That might be my only background footage after that. Glass, smiley face right back at you. Though I do feel that we're repeating this a little bit too much. I think we got to change memes. Sir Swash, you talk about gun placement too much, considering that it doesn't matter. The guns can make small adjustments to ensure they all fire on the reticle. So I guess you're talking about auto-adjusting guns. So it's basically based on range, so that basically all the guns are aiming for one point, and then it's up to the pilot to then bring the spaceship to bear on that one point in space. That is a solution. But once again, for a solution to exist, there must be a problem in the first place. And this is a problem that at one point CIG was acknowledging and then kind of went quiet on. You remember, like, I think it was 2015, beginning of the year, I think February, Calix Renault was in a series and he was talking about possibly using hat switches on joysticks to allow players to control gimbaled weapons. Though, of course, hat switches come in many different varieties on joysticks. Some of them are 4-way, some of them are 8-way. So that was really never a viable solution. So I don't, you know. And so this is a problem. And see, like the best way to prove that this is a problem and to get people all on the same page is if gun placement is not an issue, if gun placement is completely not a problem, then we could go step into the game and take away all gimbals tomorrow and everyone would be fine with it, right? Because gun placement isn't a problem. It would be equal for everybody. No gimbals, all fixed weapons. Size 2, size 3s, doesn't matter. All fixed. We could just do that and everyone would be okay with it. But we know that they wouldn't, and that's the problem. And it's you know, like, I know that I keep sounding like a broken record, but I want to get this issue closed and out of the way before we go too far, and then we might have to come back and revisit a whole bunch of things, or we end up in a situation that's wickedly confrontational and just benefits no one and doesn't benefit finding a solution. When people are just trying to throw stones and, you know, sticks at each other, and they're just losing their minds on the forum, things don't go anywhere. And so it's better to kind of get this discussion going and get this resolved while we're still building the foundation of the game, rather than when we're putting on the finishing touches and going like, oh shit, now that people are losing their ships and they're kind of looking at this and saying, wow, this really is a problem. We probably need to come up with a solution that might set us back a few months. So, or, you know, realistically, it could be even longer than that, depending on how long it takes them to find a solution. Though the solution of allowing guns to auto track to a certain aim point based on range to the currently locked target is an elegant and a simple solution, and I would support it entirely if we were indeed openly having that discussion, which we're not. All right, Tom N. I guess it's a moot point, but where are they going to put the gun rack? Is there interior room in it? There is a little interior room on either side of your legs where you could stash a gun, but I think there would be a lot of complicated animations and kind of pulling guns out from there. But if you look at the ship, like when I first got into it, and the ladder on the side, there's an opposing panel on the other side that you could just change around a little bit and just make it like a little sliding, just a little sliding metal door, and you could just slide your rifles in with the butts of the rifle facing out, and you could just put like 3 rifles in there, a submachine gun, a sniper rifle, an assault rifle, or whatever, and it would be fine. There's plenty of space to still just put a panel that opens up and you could slide a few guns in. You don't have to justify all the internal space where all the inner mechanisms are. So you can just make a panel that lifts up and you can just slide these things out. I don't know why every problem needs like a 4-stage groundbreaking solution. I mean, just put a little metal door with a little latch on it, and just pop that open, pull your rifles out. It's not like your rifles, well, possibly they would need oxygen, but it's not that complicated a solution. Yeah. So those are the questions, compliments, comments, and concerns of last week's ship updates. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.
Quantum travel initiated.